Trump suggests he's going to put 50% tariffs on Canada, then pulls back from that as the Ontario concedes something on electricity. Then we have tariffs imposed on aluminium, steel. Europe responds. We're waiting for the big day, though, aren't we? Beginning of April. We still have all of that to come.
Yeah, I think the bigger picture narratives of the last month or two haven't changed. And I still very strongly believe this is a year where the dollar will depreciate, US markets will underperform. And I think that's the longer-term narrative, and that those tariffs are going to come through and they're going to cause disruption and a kind of deglobalization trend. So I don't think that's changed. I am very curious about the short-term price action at the moment, because I think the price action is very, very negative. I think risk sentiment is going to get hurt a bit more broadly. And actually, as I kind of look around this morning, if I had to look where you might see the weak hands, because it does feel at the moment that people are extremely nervous and they're trying to hold on to P&L. It does feel that we might get a bit more. I know European stock futures are up at the moment, but I think that's actually where we might see a little bit more of a drawdown in the coming days, because what's happening at the moment is this whole tariff narrative has been very much focused around Canada. But this today is the first wave of that shifting, still staying in Canada, but also shifting focus more to Europe. And I think Europe's been trading a very, very positive story, and that's maybe stretched. We've gone quite far in the euro, gone quite far in European stocks. So if I have to look for where the short-term pain might be, it might be in Europe.
We'll get a feel maybe for how Trump feels about the Europeans when the Taoiseach gathers with him in the White House a little bit later on. Be interesting to see how that one goes down. So if Europe is next, is that the catalyst? You said, Annie, said the weaker hands are being cleaned down. Is that the catalyst for some of the more professional money managers to start to get a little bit more nervous? Because so far they haven't maybe exhibited the signs of pain that you would normally expect, given the scale of the drawdown that we've seen. Is there a kind of second-tier hit coming as maybe more established positions start to get washed out as well?
I definitely think there's a second tier, but I don't think it's coming yet. I think that kind of real money, kind of structural outflows in the US hasn't near started yet. I think that's like a much bigger story. And that's going to be that's the story that I think that's the next couple of years. The fact that the world is still way too overexposed to US assets at a time when the backdrop and the reasons for that are rapidly changing. And they've got to be nervous about the exposure because the rules are changing very rapidly. What happens if, for example, Trump realizes that, that foreign governments get tax-free benefits from investing in your stocks, and he goes, we want to change that? Well, then people want to cut their exposure. So there's lots of reasons that might change in the future. So I think the second-tier thing is not coming yet. I don't think it's coming short-term. Maybe I'm wrong. But to me, that's more something to start coming, in the next kind of quarter, and it's sustained.
Yep.
Where does the next leg of European growth come from? In the bull case for equities, is it the fiscal spend? Is it the Ukrainian peace dividend? Where does the next leg of growth come from?
I think it's the fiscal side is just super important in changing the narrative around Europe. I think not only is that just the G in the GDP equation of kind of the government kind of stimulus that is a directly boost GDP, but it also, I think, it's changing consumer confidence. It's changing the narrative around Europe. It's providing a little bit of pride back in kind of how the European sentiment is, and I think that's going to be the very big driver here. The European story remains a struggle, but that fiscal stimulus one's really important. As for the peace dividend, but I wouldn't want to put too much on that yet. I'm not just convinced that's going to be a major sustained driver this year.